Hey, Jamie, did you get your mic going?
I just got in. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
No, man, thank you for coming on. I've been looking forward to this. I've gotten great responses from people on this stuff. I've enjoyed the time that I've spent these last few days. So, man, I'm really happy you could make it on.
Cool, man. Yeah, it's a really cool format. It's kind of having a podcast with training wheels, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Without all the hard shit,
Yeah.
just push a button, easy for dummies like me.
Yeah. You and me both.
No, very, very cool, man. So yeah, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for taking some time out. Passover edition.
Yeah, we just finished dinner ourselves.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, me and Jackie and I have a Mediterranean themed charcuterie board, so we're digging into that for sure.
Oh, beautiful,
man. So yeah, so again, just to reiterate, I'm going to use this as a platform, not just for shameless plugs for the gym. We're welcome to talk about the gym, but this is more to highlight the people that make the gym so awesome. Everybody talks about the great experience, but that's largely in part due to the individuals that we have as part of this organization. So, and you're definitely one of them.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, and I think that's one of the things that it's reflective in a lot of organizations, be it private companies, anything recreational, even government institutions. Any organization that's worthwhile, in my experience, I find your most valuable resource is your people, because people are unique, they're valuable. Even an organization that's infrastructure heavy, like something like a law enforcement agency that has a lot of equipment and trucks and vehicles and specialized equipment. Well, I mean, it's not anything to be sneezed at, but you can buy that stuff. That stuff can just be bought. It can be manufactured. It can be purchased. But the best gyms in the world, like going back to what we both do, jiu-jitsu. Think of off the top of your head, not to put you on the spot, but the best gyms that we have in America right now. You're going to go around to all the big ones in Austin, or go back to San Diego and look at a place like Atos. The physical infrastructure at the end of the day is just a room with a bunch of mats.
Yes, and if you look at what Daisy Fresh is doing over there in a
exactly
laundromat.
in a laundromat that should be condemned. It's amazing. But what makes that team so good? It's the people, and that's what I keep coming back to with the ability to train at a place like Zia. It's the variety of people that we have. Just starting with jiu-jitsu, you got a bunch of different people with different body styles, different strengths, different weaknesses, different styles of grappling, different life experiences, different outside experiences in other martial arts, and people with different life experiences that are interesting to be around. That's what makes the place special, or makes any place special, I think.
Absolutely, and it's the largest reason why I wanted to do something like this, why I wanted a platform to highlight our members, because jiu-jitsu brings such a diverse, and people have talked about it before, such a diverse group of people together with one common goal. And you've seen just on our mat, we have people from law enforcement officers to college students, doctors and professionals, and we got the potheads in there too.
Absolutely.
It's a great mix of family and community.
Yeah, it's an overused, trite little meme and kind of promotional thing for jiu-jitsu, but it's true what they say. Jiu-jitsu is for everybody, unless you have to have some serious physical limitations to not be able to participate in jiu-jitsu at some level. And and for me, I can't think of a person who jiu-jitsu wouldn't improve their life in one way, shape, or form. For me, it's like there's like a 3-point. My philosophy is like 3 different converging pathways with jiu-jitsu. Some people, like, they want to, like, get involved in an activity and get in shape and exercise and You know, the same stuff they look from other exercise programs. Hey, I'm going to go to a gym. I want to have some fun. I want to do something that I can actually, I'm motivated to do. You know, I don't want to just like, you know, run outside or get on a stairmaster and whatnot. And then some people want to do it for the sport and the competitive aspect, and they want to compete. And then some people look upon it like as a self-defense thing. They're either worried about getting their butt kicked, or they want to be able to kick somebody's butt. But all these things overlap. You know, you're not gonna be able to train jujitsu to the point of being able to compete, and you're not going to get some physical fitness out of it. And
Correct.
yeah, and you're not gonna train jujitsu for to be combat effective, and not also be able to go to a competition and, you know, represent yourself on some level.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think it's one of the, one of the best ways to keep your mind sharp, keep your body fit, and actually learn a valuable skill. I
Yeah,
mean, I could hit the gym every day, 5 days a week, but if somebody attacks me, I'm not going to bench press them off me.
no,
So it's a really valuable skill to learn, and I've seen it change lives in adults and kids, which is why I continue to love it every day. Love what I do.
yeah, that's the big thing. Like it does change people's lives. It's certainly changed my life, and it's given me um, a vehicle to make myself a better person. You know, for me, it's not about wanting to beat somebody up or being able to beat somebody up, or, you know, worrying. And, you know, not to sound lackadaisical, I'm not particularly worried about, you know, somebody assaulting me in any way, shape, or form, because, you know, pretty much I mind my own business. You know, like
Right.
I often laugh at, and I know you talk to them too in your life and your travels, but you have these people that are like, hey, yeah, I'm worried about, you know, when I go out, and, you know, when you get into fights with people, and it's like, well, how often does this happen to you? Well, you know, stuff happens all the time. And it's like, and my response is always like, you need to stop doing whatever you're doing, because, you know, I'm 49 years old, and I haven't, I haven't been in a fight with anybody outside of like work reasons since I was in high school. So like, whatever you're doing, you need to stop doing what you're doing. You know, kind of, people say, well, you never know. That is true, but you kind of do.
Yeah, it's not as common as you would think. I
No,
mean,
it really isn't. You know, and I
most of the
a lot of
altercations
different.
that we see on like YouTube and stuff like that is stuff that's, both people are participating in this type of confrontation.
Yeah, you usually have a choice, you know, and some people don't have the ability to control their ego, so they can have a choice where they can walk away from somebody. I mean, like, I don't understand that. Like, people talking about like, well, in a street fight or getting into street fights, it's like I really can't think what somebody would do to me, um, where that would entice me. I mean, what, they're going to call me a name, you know? I don't get that.
Yeah, and that's I think we were kind of having this conversation too when you were talking about different self defense trainings and knife training, knife defense, where people the instructor tells the people you can use anything in the room, you could do whatever you want, and everyone chooses to engage with someone who has a knife instead of run away or like just
Yeah.
walk out the front door. So
Yeah, I always refer to it as the Nike defense. You know, if I
yeah,
see somebody with a knife, I'm going the other way.
that's the best. Yeah, absolutely the best defense, and a lot of people think that confrontation, and it's because that they're not exposed to it. I believe, in jiu-jitsu, you expose yourself to confrontation and conflict on a physical level all the time, and the
Yeah, and
vast
you learn.
majority.
I think another valuable aspect of it, not just for, you know, in a combat area, just in life, is you learn to be comfortable in adversity. You learn to, you know, be able to be comfortably uncomfortable, and to suffer through adversity, and to, you know, to just psychologically as well as physically realize, like, okay, I can still breathe. Nothing is getting broken here, and I'm going to figure my way out of this, or I'm going to try and advance my position somehow. I'm going to try and reverse this. But for me, it was I got started in it way late in life. I was like 36 years old before I was exposed to jujitsu seriously. I mean, I knew what it was, and but I was not interested in it at all. I actually kind of thought like, well, it's kind of stupid. You know, that's cool for some people, but I'm not going to do that. And I had a background in striking. I was not terribly good at it, but I was combat effective. But I got exposed to it when they incorporated our use of force system at work, where firearms instructors and use of force instructors they merged the program. So it's like, hey, you're no longer just a firearms instructor, you're going to do everything. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do that. And in the time from when I went to the academy initially, when I was 25, to when I was 36 and detailed as an instructor, they had completely changed the program. Like back in 1997, ground fighting for law enforcement, even like the prevalence of jiu-jitsu in society in America was virtually nil. I don't know where we were in the world of Nagas and
yeah, we weren't far along, I'm sure.
yeah, and even you think back to who was representing in the UFC in 1997, like who were the front runners. It wasn't really something that was super prevalent, and years later, like 13, where we going back 13 years ago, it had completely changed.
That's awesome.
And it was funny because there was like a large group of instructors. It was like 36 of us, and everyone, very few had any background. There was a couple of guys that were good wrestlers, but nobody had any real background in jiu-jitsu. And everyone that got thrown into the Shark Tank had one of two reactions, and it was almost split like right down the middle of the class. Everybody either was like, screw this is not fun, I don't like this. They were just like, okay, I'm going to do enough of this, I'm going to participate in this to the point so I can pass this, and I'm never going to do it again. Or they had the reaction I had, where I'm not a huge guy, I'm 5'10", 185 pounds, but I remember there was an instructor from the Special Operations Division. I'm pretty sure he was a brown belt. He retired. He became a black belt later on. He's retired now, but he was only 135, 140 pounds, and he was a high level competitor, brown belt. And this guy took me down, got on top of me, and I was completely helpless. Go back in time to when you were like a brand new white belt. You're rolling over into a turtle position on all fours, trying to get up. Your neck is sticking up like a giraffe, and you're just getting choked instantly.
Mm-hmm.
You're just getting arms torn out, and you're getting choked, and you're like, and my reaction was like the other half of the class was like, wow, this is really cool. I want to learn how to do this. And that's where it started for me.
That's awesome. And so you were already into your career and instructing others. And so how did it change how you as an instructor and you even in your personal life?
Well, what it did for me is as an instructor, it gave me another way of looking at solving problems in physical confrontation. It gave you a definite other advantage other than just creating space and using tools. You can close that space and minimize distance. And I found it's very helpful. It actually can bring a confrontation, slow down the tempo of a confrontation, as opposed to having to accelerate it, having to meet force with force. I mean, just from being on the mat with like high level guys, you have a guy who's like a high level brown belt or black belt or like a Division I wrestler who's the same size or bigger or stronger than you, and he just grabs a hold of you. You're pretty much done. It's kind of like, and the advantage that we have a lot of time is your average person really doesn't know. I mean, you never know who you're going to run into, but the truth is the average person doesn't really know much jiu-jitsu, wrestling, ground fighting techniques. I mean, the average person, they just know how to hit you.
Yes,
and
exactly.
when you take that away from them, they really don't have anything else.
Professor Spencer has an interesting idea about the animal kingdom and how you look at a lot of predators grapple. They don't strike. Like a lion isn't going to strike something; it's going to grab it and it's going to drag it down and it's going to grapple it.
Yes.
And a lot of predatory animals have striking built in as a defense mechanism. But I love it. Again, going back to the title of the series is On the Mat. You could think I've seen tons of guys who think they're good strikers stand up, and even if the other person is better than them, they still in their mind can tell themselves, oh, well, I did good, or I got into some good shots.
Yeah.
But when you're grappling with someone that's better than you on the mat, it is evident to everyone in the room, but most of all to you,
Yeah.
that that person is better.
Yeah, and it's very evident when you watch recaps of body camera footage from law enforcement, where you could see a police officer who's actually able to take control of a situation and control the individual, as opposed to it just looks terrible. Not only does it not work as well, but you leave yourself open to much more legal jeopardy, because you can grab a hold of somebody and you can use a good Kimura grip, a good seatbelt grip, sit them down on the ground, and your necessity to hit them and hurt them and break things is greatly reduced, because at the end of the day, if you're a law enforcement officer, you need to get them into handcuffs safely
Right.
for you and safely for them. And if you don't have grappling skills, it is very difficult. That's one of the things that we always joke about in law enforcement. Like there's a whole bunch of really almost kata like overly complicated techniques of getting handcuffs on people. They call it inside cuffing, outside cuffing, cuffing prone, cuffing somebody from a kneeling position.
Right.
But the truth is, when somebody is that's all really good when they're cooperating. But when they're not cooperating, getting handcuffs on somebody, the best way to do it is you just got to get them on. And if you're able to minimize their movement, that makes it so much easier. And if you don't have grappling skills, we'll just call them grappling skills, being able to control somebody and move your body through physical space, your only other option is to basically beat them until they give up. And that's not good for you or good for them.
Yeah, and that's the default for most people. That's all that they're really, if you have no training, that's really all your default setting is.
Yeah, and the problem we have in this world that we live in is there's really isn't the money allocated or the time to train people to that level. Like if you see a police officer who is really good at controlling somebody in a grappling situation, I can virtually guarantee you he did not get that from his agency. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been exposed to a lot of other agencies, and no law enforcement agency invests in having somebody trained to the level of a blue belt. They've just started that now with some departments where they're like, you know what, everybody's going to do 8 hours of training at least, at least twice a month, and they're going to pay for them to get up to the level of a blue belt. But that's the thing. It takes a lot of training and it takes a lot of time,
Yeah.
and I can't see being in that job and not investing it's like in-service training for medical professionals. I mean, it's your life and somebody else's life can certainly depend upon your ability to be good at your job.
Yeah, I would totally see it as one of the very high priorities in that field. And
Yeah.
now I'm loving that we're starting to realize that the sport is becoming vastly more popular than it was even just 5 years ago when I got into it. Because I got into jiu-jitsu late also. I got in late at 31.
Mm.
And the old adage is, the best time to start jiu-jitsu is 10 years ago, and the
Yeah.
second best time is today.
Right. I
But
mean, I feel stupid. I wish I discovered it years ago. Like when I was a kid, my sport was cross country. I was a skinny kid. I ran cross country. I was actually pretty good. And our high school had a really good wrestling team. And I can remember being like, oh, just being in awe of like how hard those guys worked and wanting no part of that. I was like, that does not look fun at all. Like the level of intensity that they put in, on the mats, running bleachers and what have you. But yeah, I sometimes get on myself like, man, how much better would I be if I was able to actually have started this in my youth as opposed to at the beginning of becoming an older person. At 36 years old, you're kind of on the other side of your athletic ability. But you know what? I didn't
oh,
start.
don't tell me that, Jamie.
Yeah, it doesn't get. I'll tell you right now, getting old is not good, but it beats the alternative. I'll tell you that. But
That's true.
but I look on it this way: it's like, you know what? You didn't start it before you were 36, but so what? You're doing it now.
That's true, because you could have gone through life never having started it, and that's the true crime. There is, man, once you see it, once you feel it, so many people are looking for it. They need it. It's out there.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean it's the sport itself, and also the people it brings into your life. I mean, I've been exposed to a lot of different people in life in general, and the amount of people I've been exposed to through jujitsu that weren't people that I wanted to be around is it's minimal.
Very
It's
minimal.
very very minimal, and it's transcended to the point for me where yeah, it's important, relevant to my job, but I'm not going to be doing this job forever. As a matter of fact, I'm now 49. I'm going to retire in like another 20 months from law enforcement. But jujitsu will be something that I do for the rest of my life as long as I'm physically able to.
And
So it's kind of
that's
transcended
amazing.
into a lifestyle rather than a sport or something I do that's relevant to my job.
I think that there's so many people out there that just all they want to do when you boil, I do a lot of like vision development and goal setting and stuff for people. And when you boil it all down, is the majority of us just want to help people in some way. And the avenue that jiu-jitsu brings to help such a vast array of people is amazing, because I know you've talked about it before. I obviously fell in love with it and devoted myself to just, teaching jiu-jitsu, and it's something that can be extremely gratifying for both parties involved. And I think that's part of the beauty of the martial art itself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we're getting close to the end here, but if Katy, if you're on, I want to bring you on, because Katy's been a staple on the series, on the show, and I love her. Katy's always got great ideas and great stuff to say, and she's also, I'm sure hopefully Chad is listening too. Both of them have been amazing this week with me getting this thing kicked off, and I appreciate every single one of you guys who have supported me in this, because it's something that's been on my heart and on my mind for a long time, and I'm so glad that we finally got to kick it off. So, Katy, you're welcome to come on and talk with me and Jamie, ask any questions, or just make any comments. Jamie, this is amazing. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing this, man.
Oh, my pleasure, and thanks for having me. I mean, I hope I didn't monopolize the conversation too much, but I could sit here and BS with you about jujitsu probably until tomorrow morning when I got to pick you up at your house. So, I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem talking about this at all.
No, and I've heard that too, and I have no problem hearing it, listening to it. Same thing with Katy and Chad. I love your opinions. We speak at the gym, we speak, during class, after class, and stuff like that. But I really do respect all of your opinions, your different experiences. I love hearing about them, and I want to just grow this and get more people involved in it. But yeah, Katy, how are you doing? How are you guys doing on that end?
We're doing really well, thank you. Eats' class today, dude, whooped my butt. I'm already sore. It took like literally an hour and I'm already sore. So it was
Yeah,
really, really good.
Itza runs a very, very challenging yoga class.
It was great, man. It was so fun. So we're doing really well here. Jamie, I heard you mention that you were hopefully retiring soon. When do you plan on retiring?
It's December of 2023.
Ooh.
Dang, so we're gonna have like a crazy big Zia party for you then?
Well, I'll be there.
We'll have the famous tecates out there.
Yes.
Those are always great. And I know you've expressed, wanting to teach, and I absolutely love, especially like it was today, I think. Um or it was this week, I'm sure. Everything blurs. But you were giving some really good tips with your partner. I think it was that advanced class yesterday. And
Oh yeah, with Keith.
yes,
Well,
exactly.
he's a good student. He's got a lot of potential. He's very athletic, and he's got the right mindset too. But also, I'd love to help you out with the kids class or wherever you would need me.
Oh yeah, man. The kids. Oh, I hope you know what you're getting into, because the kids are
Yeah,
definitely challenging.
yeah.
And I know Chad has talked about that too, about wanting to teach kids. And I that kids class is something I've said it before. When we started, I did not want it. I wanted to give it away to anybody and anyone. And it was such a challenge. But I think Jackie and Jackie's done a great job helping, and we finally cracked that. We cracked that nutshell, and we figured out the answer to the question, I think. and it's just been a joy to teach these kids. So I would love to have any of you guys, higher belts, come in and help and get that experience, because the kids are wonderful.
Oh man, I love teaching kids. I know Chad also really, really loves teaching kiddos, man. It's so funny. When I was watching him coach in his dojo, there was just something about it. There's a way that you communicate with children that will either keep them engaged or it won't. And sometimes you have kids that just have low attention spans, which is totally fine. But man, there's a special knack to doing it. And I watch the way you and Jackie run your classes, and it's always interesting because the kids are almost always watching and listening. And to me, that's so impressive, because it's hard. It's hard to get a class of 10 to 15 kids to constantly actually want to listen to you. So 10 out of 10 there. You may not have wanted the class, but the class sure wanted you.
It's rough, and we've done a lot of learning in the last 2.5 years, and thankfully I've got a bunch of kids myself, so I forced them to help us. But kids are so much different than adults, and teaching them is so different. I give disclaimers now to adults when I teach them, because I'm just so zoned in to the style of teaching the kids. And Professor Spencer said it a long time ago, that adults can handle more instruction, and because of some people's physical limitations, can handle less mobility. But kids are the opposite, and they can handle more mobility, but they can only handle less instruction. So it's interesting, the dynamic.
That's a super interesting way to put it. Besides mobility and the amount of instruction you're able to give, do you see any other huge differences where you have to switch gears between adults and children?
Yeah, children do not lie. So, they keep everything totally honest. If they don't like something, if something is confusing or if it's boring, they're going to tell you. Adults will have those same thoughts, but not say anything and then just not come back. Kids are just they will call you out on the spot. No remorse.
I think
kind of good.
It is. It keeps you honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to have any of you guys definitely come in. The kids have been great. We're growing it now to a point where we've even started giving our own kids a lot more days off, because those guys have been training nonstop for the last 2.5 years, and I'm sure they're sick of it.
You just gotta have an ebb and flow. I've always heard that from whatever sport or martial art or whatever you do, it's always good to have the highs, right? And then you have a few weeks, or you have 2 or 3 days, depending on what you're hoping to accomplish, where you back off. It's kind of like the tide. You want to come in, have a lot of training, and then go out a little bit, have some fun, come back in with your training super hard. Because unless you're training for a $10,000 competition or something, I don't think that every single day nonstop is possible while still enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep a healthy balance, because there's a competitive aspect in the gym, with you and your training partners, and but you also have to take rests and take breaks, and that's the hard thing to balance.
Yeah, if you turn it into a job, you can kind of ruin it.
Yeah, but see, and jiu-jitsu is so wonderful, because I did turn it into a job, and I still love it. I still absolutely love the interaction. It gets hard, day in and day out. But at the end of the day, I remember what I was doing before, and I was sitting on the desk, and I felt like a dog on a leash, and it was not healthy for me. And this is in its worst day is better than some of the best days I've had doing anything else.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the difference between even if you have a bad day, you still enjoy what you're doing, as opposed to a job where you've kind of run out of all the excitement and the novelty and the sense of purpose in it, and you're just waiting for the day to end so you can get the hell out of there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was Chad, when I was talking to Chad, and he was talking about his dad dragging him to karate classes. Like, oh man, I felt so convicted, like because I do that to my kids, and I was just like, man, I hope I'm not making them hate this sport, you know?
Yeah.
But in the Chad had a good ending there. He ended up loving it, so hopefully I know when to pump the brakes on these kids.
Yeah, I think they always know when to come around. I was late into enjoying it, but I'm really glad my dad forced me to do it because it's really paid off. Not just in the martial arts world, but just the lessons you learn and the people you meet really pay off in your working life and your social life too. So.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it helps tremendously, and I know I got that from sports. And like going to Hatch, we had like my graduating class was 60 people. I knew everybody in my graduating class. We didn't have wrestling, and man, I wish we did. I went, like Jamie, you talked about seeing it in high school and not wanting to do it. I was that other kid. I was like, I wanted to wrestle. We just didn't have it. So hopefully my kids will appreciate it. I think they've all kind of come to see the benefits of it, and they've all gotten very, very good. But I learned a long time ago to really ease up on them and not demand so much of them on the mat.
I think like the biggest thing with kiddos and just like seeing people learning and seeing kids' classes and then seeing Chad teaching, like you're so absolutely right. I think that a lot of times, sometimes I know I had this happen with my own parents, not necessarily with martial arts, but with other things in my life that they pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And eventually I just stopped enjoying it. And it wasn't even because I wanted to do it. It's one of the things where I was like, oh, I really want to do this particular thing. But I stopped enjoying it because it became a job for me. And so I think you have the perfect code there for keeping your kiddos involved and engaged without making it a chore for them or making it feel. And again, you always have bad days, dude. There are sometimes where I'm like, oh, Chad, don't make me go to the gym. I don't want to. Like everyone has off days, but
Yeah,
for sure, I think you've cracked the code.
yeah. Those good days are totally worth it. I had one of those good days last weekend. I was like, oh man, Manser didn't sub me, so that's a plus. But those good days are so sweet, and those bad days, man, some of them, they're hard to get to.
Absolutely,
man. Well, I want to thank you guys so much. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we're going to continue to do this as much as we can. You're always welcome back. I'm going to try to keep at least the first part of the episode on for our guest, and then open things up for questions and comments, and we're here. We don't have to keep it in jiu-jitsu. We can go to any other martial arts. I have conversations with all you guys about world events, current events, and all that stuff, and I would love to talk about that with you as well. So hopefully we can schedule you guys to come back again really soon.
Well, I'd love to do it anytime. Thank you very much, Mark, and I appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thanks, Mark. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Peace.
Enjoy. I'll see you in the morning.
Yes, I'll see you in the morning.
Mm-hmm.